which entitled the convicts to parole review after 7 years of incarceration and periodic review thereafter. One person who feels that change is needed in a law that could put those murderers back on the street after so little time is Sharon Tate's mother, Doris Gwen Tate, who is with us this morning. It was an awful long time before you could even speak about this murder, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. 3 years.
Why? You were in fact...
I was just like in shock for 3 years.
What now, after 13 years, has motivated you to step back into the public in this way?
Well, the fact that the district attorney had told me that for, I think, Leslie Van Houten, they had gathered 900 signatures for her release.
What makes you think that at some parole review hearing they could, in fact, be released?
Because I was told by the district attorney that it was very possible that some of the girls may get out.
Your response, then, has been to launch a petition drive of your own. How successful has it been?
I think that I have probably now about 40,000 signatures and need more.
What difference does it make if I put a name on a petition, a signature on a petition? How will that keep somebody in prison?
If people will send in their names stating that they do not want a person out of prison, it goes into directly into their records and stays there.
Some people think that it's possible some of the girls could be let out.
True.
We talked with the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office yesterday, and we were told that it's their feeling that probably will never happen. But you're particularly concerned with Charles Watson? Oh, yes.
He is evidently, he's become a born-again Christian. And on one of the talk shows in Los Angeles that I was on, a woman called me and said, well, since he is a born-again Christian and you claim you're also a Christian, don't you feel that the man should be let out and do God's work? And my reply to that was, I can't think of a better place for him to be.
The kind of work you're doing, in addition to getting petitions on a signature to keep these, the murderers of your daughter in prison, you are active with the...
Parents of Murdered Children and Citizens for Truth.
What do you do? What does that group do?
Well, Citizens for Truth were instrumental in getting about 12,000 signatures for the incarceration of Sirhan Sirhan.
Doris Gwen Tate, thank you for being with us.
You're quite welcome.
Doris Tate eventually collected 350,000 signatures opposing parole for Sharon's killers. Shortly before she died in 1992, she founded the Doris Tate Crime Victims Bureau, which lobbies for tougher criminal penalties. When we come back, Charles Manson in 1987.
What do you want to call me a murderer for? I've never killed anyone.
Charles Manson represented a very dark side of the 60s. It was a turbulent era of social upheaval, leaving many lost young men and women in its wake. Manson's charisma, his intensity, his warped counterculture vision appealed to some of them who formed a cult with Manson as its leader. Manson took to preaching that the rich were pigs who needed to forsake materialism and that their salvation lay in death. The Tate LaBianca murders were the bloody result. More than 17 years after those murders, NBC's Heidi Schulman interviewed Manson in prison. Here are excerpts from that interview, some of them never seen before.
Last February at your parole hearing, you said, I am my own God, I am my own government, I am my own court, I am my own judge.
Sure, definitely.
How does Charles Manson judge Charles Manson?
Sure, he does, every day, every day. I've done 18 years in solitary confinement. You've thrown fire on me, you've knocked my teeth out, you've forced me with medication, you've drugged me up and down hallways, you've done everything you can do, society, to kill me. And I'm still here.
And you told the parole board last February that if you were released, you might go to Libya, you might go see the Ayatollah,
sure,
you might go to France.
Sure. See, the Ayatollah's in the same holy war that I'm in. When Nixon took my thought, Nixon took my dune buggy and put it on the moon. Then he went over to that French whorehouse, over where them nuns are running out of the back door, in that morality that you talk about. And the Ayatollah was locked up over there because he was locked up from the Korean War, left over from the moon, because the United States Brotherhood put the Shah in power. When they stabbed the Shah in the back and took the Shah out, they moved the Ayatollah in. That's on the premise of what I'm thinking, in this thought here that comes off the top of Vietnam, in the dragon thought, that you got Russia on one foot and you got China on the other, you know. In other words, the public doesn't understand why the President of the United States has to play two faces. He has to play two faces for the people with the money so he can get voted in. Then he has to play the face for life to keep a balance on the planet. If we don't cut off this fossil fuel, we're not going to have any ozones left.
From your words, as Mr. Emmons quotes them in this book, it's clear that you were guilty of murder, and yet he says in all his conversations with you, he never heard you express remorse. Have you never felt it?
Remorse for what? You people have done everything in the world to me. Doesn't that give me equal right? I can do anything I want to you people at any time I want to, because that's what you've done to me. If you spit in my face and smack me in the mouth and throw me in solitary confinement for nothing, what do you think's going to happen when I get out of here?
You don't feel guilty at all?
There's no need to feel guilty. I haven't done anything I'm ashamed of. Maybe I haven't done enough. I might be ashamed of that, for not doing enough, for not giving enough, for not being more perceptive, for not being aware enough, for not understanding, for being stupid. Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I've really offered society something, then they could survive, maybe. You know, if I wanted to kill somebody, I'd take this book and beat you to death with it, and I wouldn't feel a thing. It'd be just like walking to the drugstore. Because who are you to come and say blame? Who are you to come and ask for forgiveness? Are you God or somebody? You want someone to ask you for forgiveness for your ignorance? Because you wasn't up on the thought and done what you're supposed to have done when the time came? You knew what you had to do. You knew what you should have done, but you turned your back on it. And instead you drew a paycheck. And you sold yourself out and you compromised your ideas a little bit. And then you wanted to get your diploma, so